In March 2011, the ASSITEJ World Congress and International Festival was held in Malmö in Sweden and Copenhagen in Denmark. ASSITEJ is an international association of theatre for children and young people. During the 50 years of ASSITEJ's life, this was the first time that disability or inclusive arts had been discussed, explored or celebrated. And TYA UK was asked to take the lead on this debate due to our history, commitment and the creative leaders within this area of work. The day was held at the Moonstrom Theatre, which created an ideal backdrop for a series of workshops, installations and informal discussions, allowing delegates from around the world to explore firsthand the social and the creative impacts of producing and presenting inclusive theatre for young audiences, and for them to return home feeling empowered and excited to try this work for themselves. This event exploring inclusive theatre was aptly named Whose Theatre Is It Anyway?
Inclusive theatre for young audiences for me is around ensuring that anybody can be an audience member, an artist or even a participant within theatre.
Inclusive theatre to me, I think it's theatre without prejudice. I think it's theatre that really thinks about its audience, its performers, and thinks about really what is that interaction, realising that all of us respond and receive information differently.
For me, inclusive theatre means theatre which genuinely involves an audience. It answers their requirements of the show.
Throughout the day, delegates were encouraged to ask the type of questions they might have been afraid of asking before, as each keynote speaker led through their own take of how disability and the arts can be intertwined. Workshops run by leading practitioners in their field included Daryl Beaton from Kazoom, Christopher Davies from Bamboozle Theatre, Tim Webb from Oily Cart, and Avril Hitman from Magpie Dance, just to name a few. They each used their own experiences of working in the field to offer insight, challenge assumptions or the fears surrounding disability, but more importantly, to encourage the delegates to ask those questions and to initiate international links to help move this debate forward. We didn't want the day just to be a day of theory. We wanted the delegates to experience a piece of inclusive theatre for themselves. So, TYA UK commissioned Bamboozle Theatre to create a multi-sensory installation. This new work was created for an audience with profound learning disabilities and offered a creative and multi-sensory narrative and environment. Delegates were given the opportunity to witness part of a performance and shown how the use of sensory props, music and acting can create an ideal environment for disabled children to experience theatre that's fundamentally accessible and relevant to them.
Over the last 10 years, I would say that I'm seeing more people open to trying this area of work, open to the sort of more inclusive approach. Over the last 10 years, a lot of special schools have been closed down and young people from those schools have been more integrated within mainstream education. So I suppose a lot of artists are coming in contact a lot more with young disabled people, and I suppose that's making them think a bit more about their approach and their work.
You know, I mean, it's interesting to see how much good practice has got incorporated into the mainstream. You know, how many sign performances there are, how many described performances there are, how many touch tours there are, you know, how many performances, you know, what I would just call the mainstream theatre puts on for people with autism. You know, sort of the sound down, lights up sort of. You know, I think it had the whole theatre business, to my mind, has become more open to the whole community.
For TYA UK, the event in Malmö was also a day to listen, to find out about similar work in other countries, to gain feedback and to gather theatre makers' thoughts on any barriers they may face when wanting or hoping to create inclusive theatre. The mapping installation incorporated a wide range of inclusive and accessible ways to gain information and ideas using audio, visuals and hands-on interactive exercises. This allowed delegates to add their own feedback and was also a tool for TYA UK to gather information about theatre companies from around the world working in the field of disability and inclusive arts. Theatre companies from New Zealand to San Francisco were collated, widening the possible contacts and working relationships that could be formed around the globe. The day was a great success, which allowed delegates from around the world to interact and create a forum to discover more about inclusive theatre for young audiences. International guests walked away with the key theme of inclusion and with the possibilities that can be achieved through sensory installations, the art of being, dancing to silence, or the interaction between disabled artists and audiences.
If I was to give one piece of advice to somebody who wanted to work inclusively and didn't know where to start, would be A, to go and see some work. Just there's plenty out there, go and see it. And speak to people. The companies that are making it are always quite happy to sort of share their knowledge and advice. And thirdly, you just have to bite the bullet and give it a go.
See some good stuff, that's relevant.
I think if people are nervous about working with disabled artists or thinking about real inclusivity, you have to try it, you have to bite that bullet. But also there's a number of us around who are involved in that world, and we're nice people, we're open, we don't really want to share practice. I think that is a difference. So many people about what they do, and I think, chasm, really can't cry exactly. It is about sharing our practice, and we have to be able to share it with the wider world, because we do have that responsibility to eradicate that barrier.
But our one-day seminar with ASSITEJ in Sweden is only the start of TYA UK's journey to raise the profile of disability and inclusive theatre for young audiences internationally. So the big question is, what next?
I just wanted to say that I think that it's really wonderful to have a full day represented with special populations at an international conference.
I feel like everyone's been able to learn something, so the day's been really inclusive in that way.
But the multi-sensory experience that Bamboozled did today was just really exciting, I think, and all the possibilities that showed. I don't think we have anything like that in Ireland, as far as I know, and I think it would be something that could really take off. I think it would do very well.
There is a tendency in our culture to hide the disabled children, young people, adults. It is a tendency, of course there are some organized courses, a little bit of daycare, but it's not so developed. We have a long way to go.
So I think it's starting, but it's still too much taking care of people with disabilities and not so much develop them. It's because no one, and I think that's make them childish forever. And I think they have to be able to grow and to make wonderful things.
Really exciting what's going on for children's theatre at the moment, and these are the kinds of places that kind of keep it moving forward. So I just think it's just been a brilliant day, really.